How's it going, fam? It's Erica with Not Your Average EDC, and today we are talking about pocket knives, test updates, all that good stuff. However, if I look exhausted, it's because I am. I had to sleep over at work last night because I couldn't leave because we had a blizzard. We have no heat in the camper right now, and we are in the midst of a blizzard. So I'm freezing, I'm exhausted, I have no makeup on, I look like a shit show, but yeah, living in a camper fucking sucks during a blizzard because when you lose power, then you're running off of your battery. And then when you run out of your battery, you have nothing. So it is literally like 30 degrees in here. It is freezing. Like the dogs have jackets on. Freezing, and there is no heat. And there's no safe way really of heating this otherwise. So we're cold. And my dogs are on the other side of that door because Nicole's heat ran out first, so we moved her dogs into here, which is not ideal because Indy will attack my dogs if he gets to them, so we just have to be very careful about that door. But yeah, we're cold, we're miserable. This is like day 2 of having no power. But I figured I would make a video to distract myself while Nicole runs down to the store and tries to grab another battery for me to use. So let's just talk about some knives, some updates. As you guys know, we're doing a little more of a traditional carry this month and kind of moving forward, probably sticking with that ideology of simplicity, not the latest and greatest, not the hype train. So we do have the GEC bullnose that we've been running, and kind of comparing this to some case knives because they're all traditional, right? So we have that bullnose in 1095. This is a sodbuster from Case in their True Sharp stainless steel, which is like a 420HC. We have another one of those in this little slip here. This is in the same steel, that True Sharp stainless. And then I do have a 1095 carbon steel case right here that we've been running as well. That one's got a brutal patina so far. So, yeah, let's just talk about that a little bit because, there's a whole community of people that enjoy traditional style knives, and it seems like that part of the community is very different than like the fidget boys, the ones that want like the Chinese fidgety things. So, there are all different branches of the knife community. We are all one. At the end of the day, we all love knives. We are all one. But there definitely are like sides that have very different personalities, if you will. And the traditional boys are different. And I will say, I think I just fit in with them a little bit better than the fidget factor Chinese ceramic ball bearing boys. I feel like I have kind of found my place with these. So from what I have witnessed so far and what I have experienced is that the people that run traditional knives, generally speaking, actually use their knives, which is kind of cool. It's nice to be part of a side of a community that actually uses these tools as they were intended to be used. Now, granted, obviously there are traditional pocket knife collectors that have 250 case knives in a case and they don't use them, but I'm talking about the guys that, like a very specific design, whether it's a mini trapper or a medium stockman or a sodbuster, and they actually will buy a couple, maybe put 1 or 2 up if they're like limited edition or something, but they'll have a few that they run all day, every day, and actually use them, and you can see that they've been used. I like that. I really like that because I like using my knives. I think that they were meant to cut. I think a knife is literally made to cut things. It has an edge to actually cut through material, food and rope and hay bales and processing game, whatever you need it to do. That's what the knife is for. So it's actually fun to use it. And I feel like I've found a little part of the community that does that, which is really neat. And, like I said, there are different branches of this community, and I was really in the side for a while that just, buys everything that hits the market and then, just doesn't use it but will review it and say how great it is without actually using it. And for so long I was like treading water with that branch of the community, being like, can't you just use it before you review it? Like, can you please just actually put some use into it before you tell us to buy it? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I was always like the oddball out because nobody realistically wants to spend $500 on a Sebenza and actually use it, Like, I was kind of just talking to myself for many years, and I tried, and it just didn't. I reached some people, but it didn't really go anywhere, There are just a lot of people in the knife community that have the latest and greatest and they don't want to use it, and that's fine. And I realized that, there's no point in trying to change people's minds. I don't have to do that. I just have to find my little part of this community that I can speak to who actually gets it, and I finally found it. So I've been watching a lot of, I've always watched Randy Johnson, but man, I idolize him. I think he's fantastic. Randy Johnson, Georgia Adventure, and Richter Knives. I have just been binge watching them lately, and man, it's cool to watch people that have the same passion as me in terms of like using knives, and especially these old school ones. I feel like I have found my brothers. It's great. So yeah, I'm really enjoying using these traditional knives. I am actually using them. They're a pleasure to carry. I like how thin and light they are, and they're very capable. I love me a good patina, man. Like, look at these. Because it's never going to be the same, It's always going to turn up different no matter how you go about it. Like, this bottom one has been through a lot of acidic food, so it's got just a completely different pattern than this bullnose up here that I've had for way longer, and this one is more of a uniform matte stain. See what I'm talking about? This bullnose doesn't have those ocean designs like it used to. It's so past that now it's just a dull gray. The etching is pretty expired. It's just, this has seen some shit, and it is just completely darkened up from use. But this one is still pretty new, so it has some spots on that blade that are still kind of polished. Right in the middle here, you've got a little like channel where it hasn't been touched because it's a hollow grind. It hasn't been touched as much as some other parts, so we've got a beautiful pattern on there that's way different, and I think that's so cool. And this will continue to evolve over time like the bullnose did, but it will never be the same as the bullnose. I just think it's so sweet. But these have just been really fun to use. They're holding edges fantastically well. Like, I am very surprised at how well these hold an edge. I thought they were going to be garbage. I really thought I was going to have to touch these up at the end of every day. I haven't. I don't know if I just scored some good ones, but man, this True Sharp stainless is genuinely treating me very, very well, and you can get a hair popping edge on this stuff, guys, and it will just keep going. It's really nice. Super toothy too. Like, it's great. And then, obviously with these 1095 blades here, you're just entering a whole different realm of I just love carbon steel. I just love how toothy it is and how long it holds an edge. I love it. I'm not noticing like a ton of difference between the GEC 1095 and the Case 1095. Like, they both seem very good so far, but I have not used them side by side enough to determine whether the GEC is superior to the Case or not. So we're still working on that, still trying to figure it out. But they're just a pleasure to use, a pleasure to carry. I'm really enjoying them. I've been using these slips here from Hitch and Timber to carry these knives. I have a pocket organizer on the way from this company. I reached out to them and I basically asked if they would be willing to send anything else along because I've enjoyed these so much, and they are sending a pocket organizer. But I bought these with my own money. They're really fantastic. This is the farmer size and this is the pioneer size. See how they're a little different? So the big size here, the farmer, that carries those thick sod busters like that. And then the Pioneer size, this littler one, carries my slimmer sod busters. So these have just been great to throw in the pocket. They're wearing in very nicely. I love using little leather slips for my traditional knives because it prevents gunk and stuff from getting into the pivot area, which you cannot take apart. You know, on a knife like this, you can take it apart and clean it. You can't do that on a traditional knife. So it's really important to try to keep them kind of protected in your pocket and clean. And these have been doing the trick. But I do want to try some other leather slips from other makers. I think it's so cool to get handmade, American-made leather work from people in the States here. So I did reach out to Richter Knives, and I'm going to see if he'll make me a slip to put on the channel. Because his work, bro, he just started his YouTube channel like a couple days ago. I think he's at like 97 subscribers right now. Look at his leather work. I'm like, I can't even understand how he does this. It's incredible. The lines, the burnishing, I think that's what it's called. He like burns or stamps a little R into it, and like, oh my gosh, his work is incredible. Like, these are fantastic, but his work is on a whole different level. So I really want to try some of his stuff, and I hope that I can get him to send me something to try out. But yeah, it's just, you know, it's just a totally different feel. It's simple. They're beautiful. Like, don't get me wrong. I love my modern production folders. You guys know that I love them to death. Like, this Emerson Mini A100 is just one of my favorite knives of all time. I've been through so much with this beautiful blade. I love it. But it is nice to just have some variety and to kind of slow down and go old school for a little bit. Especially if you don't need something like this. Like, I have always had blue collar jobs. You know, I've worked at farms. I've worked in warehouses. I was doing construction, landscaping, machinery, like mechanic work. I have done a lot of the blue collar stuff that you can think of where you would, in essence, carry something along the lines of a more modern pocket knife. I have used and abused many of these. That's why they have been tested on the channel, because this used to be my jam. This used to be what I needed, you know? At a lot of my jobs, I have literally needed a larger, reliable, fast, one-hand opening blade to beat on, and that's just what my jobs have always required until now. You know, like, man, this 940, I tested this when I was in construction and working on a house that I actually lived in for a while, and then I had to renovate it because it was going to a new owner. But this thing just got beat to shit during that testing. Absolute beat to shit. But I'm not doing that anymore. I'm at a job where I don't use my knives hard at all. I have a lifestyle where I use my knives hard, and that's why I have variety, but you know, I'm working with service dogs for veterans with PTSD now. You don't hard use a knife at that. I'm way more active. I'm doing a lot of work with the dogs. I'm communicating with the veterans. I am helping them with meal plans, training, just working with dogs. You don't really need a knife to do that, so I can just slide a little sodbuster in my pocket for when I have to open a package from Chewy that got donated, or a bag of kibble for the dogs, or a toy, some treats. Like, a sodbuster, a lightweight sodbuster thrown in a sheath in my pocket is more than sufficient for my current job. And I think that's what I like, is the simplicity. You know, this is all I genuinely need for a day of work at my day job. I love it. Now, granted, my lifestyle is completely different, and I am, like, kind of off-grid living here in a camper, and boy, do I use tools and knives and flashlights and all the goodies, all the fun stuff, right? I use them all the time at home, but yeah, at my day job, I don't need that, so it's just been really fun to run these little traditionals, these little sod busters, see what they can do. It's just, it reminds me of my grandfather. It reminds me of old times. It reminds me of when they didn't have anything but this, and they were just as capable at everything that, compared to how we are now. Modern technology is great, and I'm so grateful for it. But I do think it's just cool to kind of like reminisce on the old days when we had all those hardworking American men putting in the work. Their hands were always calloused, always dirty, and they just put in the work, and they had something like this, and it did everything they needed it to do, and they would sharpen it until it literally was like a reamer. They'd toss it or give it to their grandkids or whatever, and then move on to a new one. I like that. I like that way of living. I like the simplicity. I love that whole ideology, and I think it's so cool to kind of experience it modern day and be able to run these older blades. And we're ranting at this point, but I just feel like sometimes I feel like I should have been born in that era, I guess. And so these are little ways for me to experience that the best I can in the modern day. I don't know if you guys can see my hands. Like, I just washed my hands, okay? My hands are ingrained with dirt, cracked, calluses, my hands are just nasty, bro. I always have calluses. My hands are just, ingrained with dirt. Look at my jacket. It's disgusting. I work. I work very hard. At my day job and at home. I'm just outside a lot, and my skin kind of shows it almost, and so do my knives. They just they show the experience of actually putting in hard physical labor, and I love that. The day where my hands are white and crispy clean, call me out on it, because that means I've turned soft. I feel like everyone's hands should look like this, even if you're a girl. I think it's important to get outside. But yeah, my knives kind of just are a representation of me and my life, and we have lost that work ethic to get outside and to just get shit done and make the best of it, and these knives remind me of that. So it's kind of like a physical reminder, shut the fuck up, go get your job done, go do your work, no excuses, no days off. Our grandfathers didn't get days off. A lot of people don't get days off, a lot of hard workers. So, that's my rant for today, guys. I love my modern folders. I love my Sebenzas. I'm very blessed to have multiple Sebenzas. So yeah. I'll see you guys on the next video. That's all I've got for you today. Go use your shit. See you on the next video.